Great. Hello, good afternoon, everyone that is starting to trickle in on LinkedIn, on Zoom, across all the channels that we're streaming on this afternoon. Really excited about today's lunchtime event, talking with Hannah Casey from On Purpose about how you can make more of an impact in your career through the On Purpose Associate Program. This is a great escape route for those looking for salaried retraining opportunities who might be in a bit of a career rut and looking for their path into a more purpose-driven career. So for those of you that are joining this call unaware of On Purpose, they're a community that has the goal of developing leaders for purpose-driven organizations. It was founded in 2010 and they've been running for 12 years, expanding from London to Paris and Berlin. In London, they run associate programs that provide professionals with practical work experience, training and mentoring to help them find work that aligns with their values and ultimately brings about an economy of profit to one that serves the well-being of all. Delighted to be joined by Hannah, who is the head of business development and marketing of the associate program at On Purpose after completing the associate program yourself in October 2019. Prior to joining On Purpose, Hannah worked in advertising for 7 years, specializing in financial services and gaining an appreciation for how the current economic system is exacerbating social inequality and the climate crisis, before leaving advertising to pursue a more impactful career through the On Purpose program. So Hannah, you're extremely well placed to talk about On Purpose to our audience today. If anyone has any questions throughout the session, please drop them in your respective channels and we will get to them at the end. But for now, I'm going to flip it over to Hannah to kind of introduce On Purpose and maybe talk a bit more about who On Purpose is and what you aim to achieve.
Yeah, sure. So I guess to start with what we want to achieve, our goals are pretty ambitious. So we feel that the way that the current economic system is structured isn't really working. We think that it's too linear. There's lots of waste created, lots of inequality, lots of poverty, climate change. There's so many things that are wrong with how we currently operate. And the purpose of the program is to train leaders who are going to help bring about a shift in how the system works and create positive change. And I think what the sort of angle that we're coming from is that we believe that by investing in people and in talent and in training people and filling them with ideas and different mindsets and things like that, we will help transform how organizations run and therefore how the whole system works. What that practically means is, that sounds all very, very lofty and stuff, but what it practically means for people joining our program is you get a 1-year leadership development program, which is very, very practically based. So you get 2 placements of 6 months in 2 mission-driven organizations across the year. You work with them for 4.5 days a week, and then every Friday you come to On Purpose for training. The training is broadly kind of categorized into 2 areas. The first area being around leadership and developing you as a leader, and the second around building your knowledge of how to create change, the impact space, all of these things. So it's quite broad reaching. And then beyond that, you also get a mentor who supports you in your placement and a professionally qualified coach who's there to kind of support you on your journey and figure out what's your next step after the program. So there's lots and lots of support built into that, and really we help at a very, very basic level. We help people change careers into something that means something to them and where they feel like they're really adding value and contributing to something bigger than themselves.
That's amazing. Such a great introduction to what you're doing and to what the associate program can help people achieve. And maybe just picking up on that last point for people that are tuning in on why having a career that you care about is so important and why that's become such a focus for you guys in terms of the associate program.
Yeah, I think it's twofold. Firstly, on a personal and individual level, and talking about my own experience, having a career where you're maybe always reaching for a goal, whether that be a promotion, or if I work this hard then I can go travel, or if I do this, is all very outcome focused, or you're thinking about how you can spend the the 20% of your time when you're not in work and enjoy that. But I wasn't really focusing on, the 80% of my time when I was in work and whether I was enjoying it, whether I really felt like I was adding value. And I think for my own personal sense of like worth and self-esteem and value, I felt like it was really important for me to have a career where I felt like I believed in what I was doing. And ultimately, I find what I do now way more interesting and like exciting, and it gives me much more energy than what I did before. So I really like the process of what I do. And I think also when you encounter hard times at work, if you do a job you enjoy, like it's part of a bigger, that you're contributing to something bigger than yourself. So you don't get, it's easier to deal with the lows because you know that it's part of something bigger. So that's on the sort of individual level. On a sort of wider systemic level, obviously there are so many really, really, really urgent problems in the world now, and we need as many talented people working to solve them as possible. We can't afford any longer to have people not working on these problems when there's so many urgent things like the climate crisis, inequality. It's just never ending. So there's a lot to be done, and we need the people to do it.
And when you talk about those people, I guess, could you talk to the types of personas and types of backgrounds of people that you have coming through the On Purpose program, the associate program, and, for people that are on various channels today, how their career experience so far could map across to the work that you get to do on the program?
Yeah, sure. So we work with people from a really wide range of backgrounds. The sort of categories are you have to have had the equivalent to 3 full years work experience to be able to apply. I would say on average, people coming on the program have probably around like 6-7 years, and there's people that have slightly more and people that have slightly less than that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I mean, at a very basic level, you have to have probably worked on projects or work that requires a certain level of complexity and use like Microsoft Excel or Word or all of these programs. So you have to have experience working in teams to solve problems. And that can be across a wide variety of fields. We've had people that have come from creative backgrounds like advertising, marketing. We've worked with lawyers. We've worked with people from sort of accounting or finance backgrounds. We've had a police constable come on the program, people from military backgrounds. So there's a broad range of things that we look for. But more practically, what we're looking for are like transferable skills. So good interpersonal skills and ability to build relationships with people easily, good problem solving skills, good project management and time management skills, things that you can bring from your previous work experience and apply to new contexts. And also, of course, through the program, develop new skills and gain new experiences. So it really is quite a broad range. But yeah, those are sort of some of the typical backgrounds that we work with.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think really reassuring to hear that it is mainly transferable skills that are so key in this space. But I think if you are in one of those more, I guess, traditional career paths, what sort of opportunities are there in this sort of more purpose-driven and impact space that people can take advantage of?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, really dependent, and the journey that associates go on through the program is figuring out what's really important to them. So for some, like dependent on your financial situation, some will need to earn a higher salary, and in that kind of area there are roles in impact investing, which is a huge area of growth in the impact space, roles in, I guess, like tech startups trying to measure and reduce carbon emissions, things like that. And then, beyond that, we've had people go on to do a wide variety of things. We've had somebody who just left the program who was similar to me in advertising before, who's gone on to work as a partnerships manager in an anti-sex trafficking charity. We've had people that have become entrepreneurs, or so working in, for example, in Waitrose and John Lewis on their sustainability strategy to try and get them to reduce their carbon emissions and think about where all of their resources are coming from. Yeah, just so many different opportunities. It really, and the journey that everyone goes on is really really individual, and yeah, the outcome sort of depends on what you want. We also have had a few people that have started their own organization or become their own consultants in the impact space. So we've had somebody that started up an organization called Breadwinners, a guy called Martin, who I'd really recommend you check out. Who's It's kind of slightly based on the on purpose model, but they support refugees and asylum seekers to get work experience in the UK, so they can then go on and build a stable life in the UK.
That's amazing. I think we share a sort of shared purpose of trying to raise awareness of those sort of purpose-driven organizations and the opportunities that do lie within this space. And I think particularly, I guess, with the advent with post-pandemic, people are starting to focus more on the purpose that they want to get out of their career and look at these organizations. But what kind of placement organizations does On Purpose work with on the associate program? So who could you expect to be working for those 4.5 days a week during your time on the program?
Yeah, really good question. So we're fairly agnostic about the type of organisations that we work with. So we work with profit-driven organisations, charities, social enterprises. We even have a couple of placements with DCMS, in the government, and actually with an offshoot of the Greater London Assembly at the moment. So there's a broad range. What's important and the sort of the reason behind that is we think we need change across all parts of the system and with all organisations. So we don't think focusing on one specific area is going to be helpful. And the other rationale behind that is we want to give associates across the course of the year, I guess, exposure to creating impact in different contexts and try to give you two quite different experiences. So to maybe pick a couple at different ends of the spectrum. So one of our placements I'll pick three because cover different areas. One of our placements at the moment is actually a charity working in southwest England, which is quite unusual for us. It's sort of a bit of a hangover from the pandemic because most of our placements are in London. A charity that supports young people with really, really severe mental health challenges. Sometimes they can't even leave their rooms or they can't engage with school, and they support children through these challenges. And the associates there have been, basically the work that they do is so important that they don't have any time to think about the broader strategy of the organisation. So the associates have gone there to do that. Right at the other end of the spectrum, we have an associate working at NatWest, and that's quite an interesting but challenging project all around changing the culture of the organisation to try, not on their own, they're in a team, but to consider purpose and as much as the profit. So thinking about their climate strategy, their approach to more vulnerable customers, all of these things are really important. And then I guess a kind of middling one would be, which is always a popular placement, is Obbox, where we've had associates. We've just started a new program there, and we've had associates working on a wide range of projects, from getting them to measure their impact better and the carbon emissions that are being reduced, to thinking about their growth strategy for the next sort of few years.
That's amazing. I definitely always think what's most unique about On Purpose is the breadth of those organizations that you work with. That there's not many that also work in the corporate sector to try and create that change from within. And like you said at the beginning, really fundamentally address some of the challenges of the current economic system. So it's really interesting to hear that there are so many opportunities across that program. And then do you get I guess associates that get offered jobs through their placements at the end of the program? So can they roll off the program into these organizations that they're working for?
Yeah, I think yes, they can. I think on average around 50% would stay on, at least on a short-term basis, maybe for a few months after the program, based on looking at the past 3 cohorts. Actually, for the previous cohort that just left, it was slightly lower, but I think that's just because at the moment in this space there are so many opportunities. Like the job, as I'm probably sure you're aware, there's loads of jobs out there. So it was slightly lower, but yeah, that was not because of a lack of offers from placements. That's more that the associates had had broader choice, but it's definitely possible to it's not a guarantee, and I think it's important not to go in with the mindset necessarily that you'll end up at one of these organizations, but it is definitely a common outcome.
Great. And could you speak a little bit more to the training and support that associates get throughout that program from On Purpose? So I guess something what you haven't necessarily touched on is that it's a salaried retraining program, so that the associates do receive a stipend throughout the program. But beyond that, what sort of support can they expect to receive?
Yeah, that's a really good point that I didn't mention, that you get paid a salary of £23,000 for the year, which which depending on your background and where you're coming from may be more or less achievable. But we're really proud of the fact that we're able to offer a salary for you to retrain, and then I guess sort of as part of that, on top of that, there's so much support that goes into the year. Firstly, of course, you have the core team, like me and my 5 colleagues are always around. Secondly, you have the learning and development sessions, which happen on a Friday. And there's loads of really cool sessions that we do with associates to get them thinking about leadership and how to run organizations and how to create the most impact in their lives in different ways. To give you, I guess, a few examples of sessions that have been run. Last week we did a session on sort of like growth mindsets and how to approach life with a sort of a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. We've had sessions on supporting associates to think about how you effectively measure impact, because that's always something that's much harder to do than you would think. So some more practical sessions around that. Some quite technical sessions around like how do you get the finance to launch or to run a purpose-driven organization. Then we have some sort of, I guess, like real life stories. So Martin from Breadwinners, who I mentioned before, quite often comes and does a session on like how do you actually start your own social enterprise. So and those are sort of from 1 till 5:30 on a Friday. As I mentioned before, you also get a mentor per placement. So the mentor is there to support you in your placement, and you meet with them sort of fortnightly. There's somebody normally with kind of roughly 10 plus years experience in a sort of relevant or a sort of professional context. So someone with experience to help you navigate any of the like cultural challenges that you might be facing or any of the practical challenges you're facing around your work. And then the last bit is the coaching. So associates get a professionally qualified coach that they meet with roughly sort of 6 to 8 times a year. And it's one of the things that people find, I think, really valuable about the program, because you have that space to think through like what am I going to do after the program. The learning, I've just seen a question come through, so I'm happy to
Thank you, Caroline, for that.
Online sessions during the pandemic. We have moved back to in person now. There might be the occasional session that's online, but the vast majority are in person. Because that connection with the cohort and the meeting on the Friday afternoon is a really, really important element of the program and building the bonds with your cohort. So we want to facilitate that as much as possible.
Yeah, that's great. And maybe we could talk through a few more of those practical elements of the program, because that's some great questions there from Caroline. So when the program will start and end, I know the applications for the cohort that will be in October of this year, those applications close on the 23rd of May. But then, maybe if you could talk to if there are more than one cohort intake per year, and the process for applying to the associate program.
Yeah, sure. So we run 2 cohorts a year, one that starts in April and one that starts in October. So our next intake will be in October, and then we'll start the next one April next year. They run for a year, and so we always have kind of 2 cohorts running at the same time. In terms of applying, it's fairly simple, but you just need to have everything ready before you apply. So you sign up on our website, and you'll get sent a link to the application form. Then you'll also be put into a chain of emails that will give you more information all about the program, but also about how to do your application. The things that you need to get ready beforehand are your CV. And I would include on your CV any like volunteering, any reading you've done about the impact space, anything kind of like it's about you as a person as much as your like career. That said, we don't actually look at the CV that much when we're reviewing applications. It's more for if we need a sense check at the end. But the main thing we're reviewing are the 4 questions that we ask you to answer as part of the application process. There's sort of 4. One is about more understanding your professional experience and asking you to provide evidence of transferable skills that you have from project management, analysis, there's lots of different things that are relevant, but just understanding what you have that's transferable to the program. Your motivation for doing the program, like we want to see a bit more evidence about what it is that's really made you want to apply. What's your understanding of the impact space? What research have you done? Have you done any what have you engaged at all in any issues or any topics? And then we also ask 2 more questions. One that's really understanding your take on leadership and your leadership style. We're open to lots of different ways of defining that, so don't overthink that. And the other one around sort of, I guess, your like ability to sort of take on to start things from scratch and take them on and see them through to the end. So those are the things that we're looking for, really.
Nice. And so is there a requirement for people to be based in London to undergo the program, or most of the placements based in and around London?
Yeah, most of the placements are based in and around London, and it is a requirement. We do have quite a lot of demand for like a remote program, maybe across the UK. So we probably need to look at that at some point. But for the moment, the program is based in and around London. So or in Paris or Berlin, if you happen to be French speaking or German speaking and fancy a move over there.
Yeah, that expansion element is very exciting for our fledgling French and German audiences. Very conscious of time, so very keen to open this up to questions for anyone who's listening that has any other burning questions to ask of Hannah. This is a great opportunity to do so, to tease out more information on the On Purpose Associate Programme and how you can get involved and make a big change in your career. Perhaps while people are chiming in with their questions, there's a killer one for you of 3 key pieces of advice for those that are just teetering on the edge of making this change and really considering a shift in their career. What are the 3 key pieces of advice that you would give them?
Yeah, I think that my first piece of advice would be just to don't be afraid to reach, particularly if you're considering On Purpose, don't be afraid to reach out to people in our network, ask them about their experience of the program, ask them about making the change, or in general in the sector, just don't be afraid to reach out and ask people for coffee. It's a very friendly space and we want more people in it. So definitely just connect with people and, make sure you've got information before you apply. The second thing, I think I was speaking to one of our fellows yesterday and they said that they were glad they did On Purpose when they did, so they don't regret the career they had before or anything like that. So making sure that you have enough stability or security in to make you comfortable to make the change, because it is a big change. So making sure that like financially or whatever you need, you can you're in a stable place to be able to make the leap. And then my third piece of advice, which maybe contradicts all of that, is that maybe just don't overthink it too much. I think if you do make the change, then it's definitely a leap into the unknown, and you don't know it's very difficult to control exactly what the outcome's going to be. But I never have spoken to anybody that regrets doing On Purpose ever, and I certainly don't regret it. So you just have to kind of it's a bit of a leap of faith, I guess. So there's only so much thinking you can do about it. It has to come a little bit from your gut.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I know from a couple of friends one who's currently on the On Purpose program, I think within a week of speaking to her, she already is very adamant that it was the right move for her. So as you said, it is very much, it's not the sort of thing that people tend to regret going on. A great question from Chris on Zoom about if there is an alumni network to reach out to. You just touched on that, but that tends to be a real strength of this sort of program.
Yeah, I think I think that probably the best thing to do actually is go on our website, and we have it'll take a bit of like snooping, but there'll be basically there's profiles of all of the people that have done our program on the website, so with links to their LinkedIn, so you can reach out there or get in touch with me if you're struggling, or you just want to follow up chat, to get in touch on LinkedIn.
Great. Well, Hannah, it's been really helpful. Thank you so much. I just want to remind everyone that applications for the October 2022 cohort of the On Purpose Associate Programme close on the 23rd of May. It is a salaried retraining programme, so you do get a stipend while you get to work for all of these amazing organisations on placements within them. If you have any questions, I think my colleague Hilary is dropping in contact details on whichever channel that you are tuned in on. But you can always reach out to us at Escape City or at On Purpose if you have any further questions on the program itself. Hannah, I don't know if there's anything you want to say to sign off from the On Purpose side.
No, just don't be afraid to make the change. Would be whatever you do, just don't be afraid to make a change in your career. That's my experience, and definitely don't regret it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time this afternoon. I hope that was really useful to those of you that have taken the time to tune in on your lunch break. Please do follow up with us, reach out with any questions, and just echoing Hannah's sign off there. Please don't be afraid to make a change, because we do need more people in this purpose-driven space. And this is such a great opportunity to kind of take that leap out of your current career. Hannah, thank you so much, and speak to you again soon.
Thank you.